Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Mike Rambuya, and today we are going to do a Lorcana deck profile video, but we're going to do it a bit differently. I kind of want to, over the next couple of deck profiles, whether it's Digimon or Lorcana, to showcase some of the online tools we have to build decks. Full disclosure, none of the folks behind any of the deck profile videos, at least at the time of recording, or at least for this one specifically, have reached out to me like, hey, could you give us a shout out or anything like that. So this is totally, I'm doing this because I think it's very good to know what tools you have for deck building. I think it's also just not only for deck building, but to discover different decks, to discover maybe some different things, as well as some of them do have interesting tools such as possible trade options, or even give you an idea of like how much it would actually cost to build a deck that you want. So without further ado, let's talk about Dreamborn.ink. Now Dreamborn.ink is one specifically made for Lorcana. Yeah, so this is just basically saying, hey, we try to do our best to follow the rules. So always good. But anyway, so here's you can create a free account. There's no any cost or whatnot. This is totally free. But it gives you tools such as Deck Builder, where you can go through and build out the deck that you need. Of course, it sets the limit at 4 because that's really that is the max amount of cards you can have in your deck. But also gives you options such as like filters to how to filter out colors if you want to build a yellow-red deck. And I'm looking at, just give me the cards that are inkable and cost 2. And that way, you just gives you cards that you can ink, put into inkwell face down, and as well, and that cost 2. Fun stuff like that. But if you're just generally looking at what cards are in the set, you can just go to the cards and again filter out what you're just looking for. If you're just looking for specific cards to give you an idea, you can also do layout to where it just gives you just a general list. And as you can tell, each of these, let's switch it to back over. But as you can tell, it also gives you a price. Now, I'm in the US, and so the link here goes to TCG Player, where then you can figure out if you want to purchase the card from TCG Player from one of the various vendors. Again, TCG Player has not reached out to me or anything such as that. So again, if you want to use TCG Player, that's fine. If you just want to have a better idea of what quote-unquote the market says the card is worth, so when you do trades, you're not getting swindled by trading a card that's worth 10 cents, a card that's worth $5 for a card that's worth 10 cents, if that's something you care about. But for now, we'll just go back, and so you can see all the different cards from there. Of course, then you can also then do by set number A to Z, however you want to search cards. Another tool that Dreamborn.ink gives you is the collections. So you can actually go in here and you can say, oh, I have this card, or I have a foil of this card. The mobile app does it as well, but if you're more of like, hey, I just want to, but figure out more of what I want to do, you can figure out that. You can do a bulk add, or you can put in a CSV file, and that way, if you are keeping track of like in a Excel sheet, I just forgot the word there, you can just upload it and they can add all the cards to your collection, and that way you can kind of keep track of like how much of your collection you set. Also gives you an idea of how much it costs to complete the set. So it's very nice that they broke out the promos. All the different subsets. and items such as that. We'll get into decks here in a bit. Events, if there's an event being held, as you can tell, here is the North American event. And here you can come and it allows you to report your results. And if so your character's like, oh, at this big like North American Championship, what deck won? It was this Morgan Chamberlain who used a green purple deck. And then you can click here. It will verify that you're not a bot. And then I was like, oh look, it gives you a breakdown of what the deck was. So 62, remember the minimum of your deck is 60. There's, as far as I remember, no max. But as you can tell, it's definitely a purely character deck, but then you can look at the results. You can figure, oh, who won? It was this person. What color deck? And you can look at their decks and whatnot. Trade. Here you can trade between two people. Not a function I will personally use, but if you're just looking to trade and not sell your cards or buy them from the TCG player, this could be an option for you. Next, we'll look at the decks tab. So the decks, you can now look up the newest. So these are most recently decks posted. They give you the price of how much the deck will cost. The nice thing is that if you have uploaded what your collection is, it will definitely say you have X amount % of this deck. And then this price will of course go lower because, hey, you're not paying for that much. Also tells you how many cards are in the deck, how many times it's been viewed, and if it's been liked. So these are old decks that have videos. And what's not cool, it embeds the video inside here, so you don't have to go to YouTube. So if you want to go select, oh, hey, I'm curious what the thought process is, and there's a video attached to it, you can just play it straight from the site. So that's help. Next, we'll go to popular. These are, of course, just going to look at what some of the more popular decks are, based on likes, views, and items such as that. Trending. Again, just kind of like what's currently on the trend right now. If you favorite any deck, it'll appear right here. And then under my decks is where you can save your decks. And so let's get into the deck I built, which is a Ruby Steel Pirate. By the time this video gets posted, I will share a link to the specific deck. There'll be a video to it, and it should be publicly viewed as well. So, what's the point of this deck? This deck is very much ping my opponent characters and locations, basically keeping their characters off the field or keeping their lower generation off the field as much as I can, and that way I'm more just tripping them up, and as I then go produce lore and win that way, basically I'm trying to keep my opponent down as I climb up. So starting the characters, we have, so another interesting thing, if you go into here the card, so gives you the card, allows you to add to your collection. If you're like, oh, I do have this card, you can add to your collection. It pulls the prices, since all cards have the ability to be foiled in Lorcana. It gives you the non-foil and the foil price. Plus, if it's been used in other decks, you can see what popular decks are out there that have used Moana Self-Taught Sailor. So Moana is a 1-cost, 3/2, 1 lore. When this character can't challenge unless you have a captain character in play, and that's talking about the traits here. So she's Dreamborn, Hero, Princess, Pirate. And those traits are going to come, the pirate traits are going to come in a bit later. So, another nice thing is like, oh, I like this card. What other decks have people try to use this card for? So, next we then go into Kimura Long Range Specialist. It's a 1-cost, 0/2, 1 lore character. When I play this character, if I have another pirate character in play, I may deal 1 damage to chosen player, character, or location. And one thing to remember about damage in Lorcana is that it persists. And it persists, and what I mean by persist, it means unlike magic, or more like similar to Pokemon, the damage on the board stays on the board until you remove it yourself or the Pokemon or your character is removed. Magic, at the beginning of your turns, all the damage gets reset, so so at the beginning of turn, every character's health reset. Unlike, so if they're a 4/4, they take 3 damage. They're 4/1 at the beginning of the turn. They go back to being 4/1 or a 4/4. Sorry, Lorcana doesn't do that. The damage persists until either you heal or your character is banished. So there's our first example of I'm doing chip damage, and since most of the deck is pirates, there's an easy way for me to do this. It is not inkable because it doesn't have the swirls around it. So here is a 2-cost inkable Kimura Pirate Pitcher. He's a 1/3, gains you 1 lore. When you play this character, chosen pirate character gains evasion until the start of your next turn. Evasion is similar to flying if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering terms. Only another creature with flying or one that has reach can attack it. So basically it's a defense deal. Jim Hawkins, we're using 3 copies of Moana Self-Taught Sailor, 3 copies of Kimura Long Range Specialist, 3 copies of Kimura Pirate Pitcher. We're using 3 copies of Jim Hawkins Stubborn Cabin Boy, 2-cost inkable 0/4, 1 lore. Questing, during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, this character gains, or during your turn, whenever a card is put in the inkwell, character gains Challenger +2. It adds 2 to its willpower. Excuse me. To its offensive stats, so it goes from a 0/4 to a 2/4. Kimura Menacing Sailor, non-inkable 3 cost, 3/2, gains 1 lore when you quest, but when you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. So again, just a way to I'm tripping up my opponents. Billy Bones Space Sailor is a 3-cost inkable card. He's a 2/2. He gets 2 when he quests. When this character is banished, you may banish chosen item or location. So if your opponent has an item or location on the field, you can target it and get rid of it. So he's a character you probably want to quest with. That way you can maybe trigger the banish effect and gets a resource off your opponent's board. Next, we have an inkable 3-cost John Silver Greedy Treasure Seeker. He's a 3/3, gains 1 lore when you quest, but chart your own course. For each location you have in play, this character gains resist +1 and gains +1 lore. So as you can tell, I have numerous locations that we can get on the field. Definitely can make him a great resource for questing, but also he gains resist. Now what resist does, it reduces the damage taken. So if I challenge with John Silver, or John Silver gets challenged and the person's going to do 3 damage, well, if he has resist +1, the 3 damage augment goes down to 2, so only takes 2 damage. So resist is just a way to kind of make your cards a bit harder to kill, harder to banish. Use the correct terminology here. This makes it harder to banish, as well as still allows them to just makes it a little hard to banish, and especially with John Silver, when he quests, gain more lore than he does. Next, we have 1 copy of John Silver, inkable 3 costs. This is the Ship's Cook variant. He's 3/3. When you play this character, chosen character can't challenge during the next turn. So this is just a way to kind of maybe prevent, if your opponent has a character that he's mainly using for challenging, say, you know what, for the next turn, he can't do anything. They can't do anything. Next up is a 4-cost non-inkable John Silver Furious friend. 2/4, gains 2 lore when you quest. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 1 damage to another chosen character of yours. If you do raid that character, they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So if let's say I quest with Billy Bones, and then I will do 1 damage to get him ready, and then I can then challenge with him, get him banished, and then get a item or location off my opponent's field. That's kind of the benefit of excuse me, of this card, is to do damage and then send your character to go challenge and hopefully get another resource off of your opponent's board. So next we have a Kakamora boarding party. 4 cost, non-inkable, 5/2, gains rush. This character can challenge the turn they're played. If he can quest, gain 1 lore. This is going to be very useful for some other effects as we get down the road and look at some of the other cards I have. But being able to challenge when he's played makes good, especially if I did some damage with some other effects during my turn, and then I can then just take a swing at them, and hopefully, again, just get them off the field. Moana, Undeterred Voyager, a inkable 4 cost, 3/4, gains 1 lore when quested, and has Invasion. So basically just an easy card to keep on the field, and only other characters with Invasion can challenge them. Next up is our first Shift card. This is Moana Born Later. Is an inkable 5 cost, 4/4, shift for 3 on top of another character named Moana. Gains 2 when you quest. Whenever this character's quest while at location, ready your other characters here. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So again, this is just another good effect of questing, and then questing with Moana, ready the other characters up, and then now they can go and challenge an opponent. So you gain the lore, and you have a chance to maybe take out some of your opponent's board. Our next one is a 5 cost non-inkable Jim Hawkins Rigging Specialist. He's a 5/5, shift cost of 3 if you play on the top of a Jim Hawkins card. Battle stations, when you play this character, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character or location. Again, just playing into the ping my opponent, and when he quests, it gives you 2 lore. Next up is our 7 cost inkable Moana Kakamora Leader, 6/5, shift cost of 5 you play on top of Moana. We have numerous ones we can use. Gathering Forces, when you play this character, you may move any number of your characters to the same location for free. Gain 1 lore for each character you moved. So if you have if you have 3 characters that are on the field, you have Moana at you moved a Moana to a location right before. You still have 5 ink. You shift this. Now you can move those other 3 characters over. You can just gain 3 lore on top. You just gain 3 lore right off the bat. And she gives you 1 lore when you quest. Next up we have Kakamora Pirate Chief, a non-inkable 7 cost. He's a 4/6. Whenever this character quests, you may draw, then choose and discard a card to deal 1 damage to chosen character or location. If I discarded a pirate card, I deal 3 instead. Given that numerous cards I have in this deck are pirates, it's very easy to discard and then do 3 damage to my opponent. And plus, there are other effects that I've always done damage with, so I may be able to clear some resources off the board. And he gains you 2 when he quests. And then the final card, and looks like the most expensive card of this, is we're just 1 copy of John Silverstern Captain. He is an 8 cost inkable, 6/6, shift on 5 on top of another John, he has already resist 2, so he's already doing reducing damage done to him by 2. Excuse me. And then at the start of the turn, deal 1 damage to each opposing ready character. And also gains 2 lower winning quests. So basically, again, we're just pinging our opponents, getting their characters and locations weakened, so then I can finish them off with some other effects and get their kind of their lore engine disabled. Next, we're going to actions. We have Voyage. Voyage is a 1-cost inkable card that allows me to move 2 characters to the same location for free. Just try and get the characters to locations that gain some benefits. Baboom is a 2-cost inkable action of where I can do 2 damage to chosen character or location. So if I did damage to John Silver or Kakumo Pirate Chief, I can possibly finish him off with Baboom. Next we have a 4-cost non-inkable on your feet now. Ready all your characters, deal 1 damage to each of them. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. Again, this is just... I know this maybe is like, oh, you're sacrificing a lot of characters. Yes, but the thing is that I'm doing it if I've already quested, and then I play in, like, on your feet, then they're already, so I've already gained the lore off of them, and now I can just use them to... So, it's definitely much a more aggressive, like, oh, thank you for your services, I'm now going to use you for something else type deal. Next, we're using 2 copies of the islands I pulled from the sea. It is a action song, cost of 3. Remember, with songs, you don't have to pay the 3 if you have a character with 3 or more. Excuse me. A character with a cost of 3 or more may be tapped to sing a song for free. I have a good number of characters that can do that. So if I get them on the field, I can tap them, play the song for free, don't have to touch the resource on the inkwell. Search your deck for a location, reveal that card to all your players, put it into a hand, and shuffle my deck. So this is just a search card to get to my locations. Next up is the 3-cost inkable item of Map of Treasure Planet. I can tap it, and if I do, I pay 1 less for the next location I play this turn. And then it has an overall effect of you pay 1 less to move characters to a location. So locations have move cost, so you can't just move a character for free unless you use like something like Voyage or another effect. But Map of Treasure Planet will help lower that cost. Next up, we use 2 copies of RLS Legacy Cannon. It's a 3-cost non-inkable. I can tap it and pay 2. I can discard a card. I can deal 2 damage to chosen character or location. Again, pinging our opponents for damage. And finally, the locations. So first is Jolly Roger. Is a 1-cost non-inkable. It costs 2 to move it there, and defense of 5. Basically, take 5 points to get rid of it. Look Alive, use Swabs. Characters gain Rush Raw here, so right off the bat, if I play a character, I can move them there. If I have Map of Treasure Planet, it only costs 1, but if it's a pirate character, I can move it for free anyway. So I play a character, all I want to do is challenge, I move it to Jolly Roger, and now I can challenge. Again, really works with Billy Bones. I know it's only 2/2, but if I've already done damage with some other effects, use him to finish off a character or location, and then I can then banish another item or location because of his effect. Next up, we have Skull Rock, which is a 2-cost inkable. 1 cost to move, 6 defense. All characters here gain +1 to their willpower, so +1 to their attacking stats. At the start of your turn, if you have a pirate character, you gain 1 lore. So if I have Treasure Planet, basically all my moves are for free. And then if I put a pirate character there, at the start of the turn, I gain 1 lore. At the beginning of a turn, if your locations automatically generate those lores, as you notice, the first 2 locations I'm using don't, because they're more definitely used for resources and empowering my characters rather than a lore engine. Next up, we have the RLS Legacy. It is a 4-cost non-inkable location. 3 costs to move. It has 8 defense. It gives you 2 lore at the beginning of your turn. Characters here gain evasion. Again, I'm very more defensive. Hey, only another character evasion can hit me. And then if I have a character here, I can pay 2 less to move a character. To move a character of yours here. Map that with Treasure Planet, which already reduces the cost by 1, so it's really only a 2 cost. And then if I can pay 2, and then basically now all movements there are free because it's already lowered by 2 if I have a character there. And for the last card of this deck is a 5 cost Treasure Mountain, cost 2 to move there, and it's a 9 defense, giving you 2 lore at the beginning of your turn. At the start of your turn, deal damage to chosen character location equal to the number of characters here. Again, just playing into I'm pinging my opponent. If I use something like Moana, Kakamora, leader, sorry, to move a bunch of characters to this location on my previous turn, at the beginning of my turn, I can now do that damage. So if I move 4 characters there after I had Moana there, so now that's 5 characters. Now I deal 5 damage to any location, to any character. And for the most part, as you saw with some of these hells, with some of these characters deal, it is going to be very, very easy to get them off the board. And that is my Ruby Steel Pirates deck. As you can tell, I'm very much just about a more aggressive style of, I'm really going to focus on making it very hard for you to gain lore. But yeah, so when I publish this, by the time this video is up, this deck will be published. I will attach the video to it as well, and that way you can come and look at it. A link to Dreamborn.ink will also be in the description down below for you to check out. Yeah, so we'll see how useful these type of deals are. I personally like it because not only gives you a breakdown of your cost, but also gives you a breakdown like what my deck breakup is, how much inkable cards I have versus non-inkable cards. My breakdown of colors and whatnot. And other items such as that. They look like they do have a Discord and a Blue Sky account. And then they also have a Buy Me a Coffee, which is probably how you can support them financially if you so want to do that. But yeah, that's enough of me blabbing. Check out Dreamborn.ink if you're looking just to kind of get into Lorcana. If you want an online tool to make deck building a bit easier or anything such as that. Thank you very much for watching. If you have other resources that you are aware of for deck building or even keeping a handle on your collection, sure you can share them down in the comments below. Until next time, may your pulls be blessed, may you never have a misplay, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.